Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. By freeconferencecall.com. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. Please re-enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. Please re-enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please wait, and you will be joined. Please enter your PIN followed by the pound or hash. If you do not know your PIN, please. Thank you. There is one host in this conference.
Nice. The crowning touch. I'm gonna shift this over here. Yeah, you're gonna stick around here, no?
I need to hop on my computer
Why don't you use this one? Yeah. Because it's easier. Otherwise, it's too far. You'll be too far away. And you can enjoy how fun my computer is to use. Sorry, I'm trying to clean up some of Copper Hill real quick.
Yes.
To use it as an example.
You have a lot of sugar?
Just leaving that as a splash. Everything's gonna be weird. I have to log out of my team environment and log into your team environment.
That's fine.
Yeah. I have to log out of mine.
Arbor Ridge 2.
Hello, Arbor Ridge.
Hi.
Welcome. You're the first one.
Are we the first?
You are indeed the first.
Right on. Okay, so we are supposed to mute ourselves, correct?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And you should have the video open as well, but that's separate. Cool.
Summerfield Place Apartments.
Park Place Apartments?
Summerfield.
Summerfield, welcome.
Morning.
Good morning.
If I have someone coming in, like my maintenance guy, for example, how do I use this thing?
You're just gonna want to mute your phone. You don't need to mute the video necessarily. It's up to you though.
All right.
I suggest everybody mute your video unless you want to have two audios.
Yeah.
Moving a folder in another folder is
Done.
such a pain.
To SharePoint.
Yeah, anything. Really a pain.
Good morning, David.
Good morning.
Dear Rich, and everybody, good morning.
Good morning.
David, do we have to be on the line?
You I would recommend you mute your phone for now, but yes.
Okay.
What's that conversation going on right now on this live stream?
It's already happening.
Yeah. I had to kick it off.
So we're still waiting for a lot of people to log in.
Harbor Ridge 1. Carmen Schmidt.
Good morning.
Good morning. Next guys.
Good morning. So if I can have everybody muting their phones, I appreciate it. They don't understand the difference between an invoice Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, to say the least. That's really frustrating.
Azalea Forest, Green Haven.
Good morning, Azalea.
Good morning.
Can everybody please mute your phones? Everybody please mute your phones. I do.
Everybody please mute your phone.
I'm wondering, because I'm muted online, I muted that, my screen as well.
Mm-hmm. So you want to just be through the audio of the
Right, I
phone.
wonder if they're on the audio of your,
Yeah.
I wonder if they need to mute that as well, is what
Yeah,
I'm trying
they
to
do.
say.
Yeah,
But you're saying mute your phones, you could say mute your screen.
both.
I see.
Yeah.
Sylvia Loya from Casa del Coronado.
Hello, Sylvia.
Hi.
Good morning. So if everybody could please mute your computer, your YouTube video, as well as your phones, please.
Okay. Mariana Lu.
Good morning, Mariana. Please mute your phone and your YouTube.
They don't need to mute their computer if they mute their phone because it's not going to pick
My
up.
phone is 916.
Actually, yeah, you don't need to mute your computer. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then you won't be able to hear me at all. Just mute your phones, please.
Excuse me? Tammy Dolphin with Elwood Terrace Apartments. Doina Barbuciano.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nicole Terrell.
Good morning, Nicole.
Hey, good morning. Hey, good morning. Hi, David.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing well.
Oh, I see. Cool.
All right, we'll get started in just a moment as people are going to be logging in here slowly. So if I can please have everybody mute your phone so that we can't hear you on the bridge, but make sure to have YouTube unmuted so you can hear the audio through YouTube but not through well, actually no, you're going to mute your YouTube as well. We're going to listen to that through here. Yeah. Yeah, so mute your phone and YouTube, both phone and YouTube. So you'll just be listening in on the phone and then through YouTube. You'll... Good morning, Lasima.
Hi.
Okay. All right, we'll probably get started in a minute here. Sorry everybody who came in on time. We still have quite a number of people that need to log in. Oh, 39 watching right now.
Oh, it's 39.
We have about 40 people. We need about another 40. So we'll give it another few minutes. If there's still a lot of people not signed in, we'll probably just get started.
Hi, good morning, David. This is Aisha.
Good morning, Aisha. Hello, hello. Who do we have on the line?
Good morning, David. This is Alina.
Alina, good morning. If you could please mute both your phone and YouTube, you'll be just listening in through the phone.
Hi, David. I'm sorry. I was disconnected.
No problem. All right. Let's go for
Let's do this.
Hi, David. This is Zoran from the Point Hotel. I got disconnected, so
Good morning, Zoran. So if I can have everybody please mute your telephone. Thank you. All right, so welcome everybody. I don't know, I can't see you, but I'm sure you can see me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get started on. Can I have everybody please mute your phones? I'm still hearing sounds of everybody. Please look at your cell phone and press, or your office phone and press the mute button so that I cannot hear you unless you intend to be heard. Like if you have a question, just unmute your phone and ask your question nice and strong so I can hear it, because sometimes it's hard to tell if it's a question or not. So just nice and strong voice so I can tell that you intend to speak. Otherwise, I might ignore you. So I know we have about 40 plus people in so far. We'll probably have a few people trickling in as we go on. So what I wanted to go over today was training on the new Teams environment that all the company is going to start using from now on. So that means that everyone that has been given access, or you probably will be getting access in the next few days, will be kind of learning as we go. Hello, Corona. Please mute your phone, and if you can, please also mute your YouTube so that you could listen in on um, the video through there. So yeah, if everybody please mute your phones, and you can mute you can mute YouTube as well, so that you can just see what we're doing and not have to listen to two voices speaking to you at one time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into basically what you've been getting. A lot of you have received through your new DJA email, the new Microsoft 365 Outlook. You've received an email from Alicia or someone at the DJA staff that you've been signed up for Teams. And so I'm just going to walk you through some of that here. So as most of you have received your invitation, I'll walk you through some of that here. So for instance, you receive an email that says that you have been added to the El Caprice Apartments team. Now that could be any property. It doesn't have to be one El Caprice necessarily. You can open in Microsoft Teams. When you press that, it's going to ask you, do you want to open it in Microsoft Teams, or do you want to use, so you can either use it online or on your desktop. We prefer that you use it in your desktop. It makes it a lot easier to use at times. So I'm gonna say download to the Windows app, and after you go through that installation, you'll have a new application on your desktop right down here called Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to skip that step for today, but that's basically the process there. From your email, open in Teams, it'll bring you to a new page where you can decide to use the desktop app or use it within the web browser interface. Okay, so I'm going to close that real quick and switch over to Microsoft Teams. You'll want to have Teams open on your computer desktop throughout the day. Okay, so what we're asking is that Microsoft Teams is your home away from home, if you really will. Basically, let's say on your computer you have a lot of files that have to do with your properties. So all those files will no longer live on your computer. They'll live within the Microsoft Team environment. Okay, so I want to make sure that that's a really well driven home point. We are no longer saving files on our computer. We're no longer working on our files from our computer or through our computer. We're using them and working on them within a team environment that lives in the cloud. Okay, so what we mean by in the cloud is it means it lives online. All your files will live online. If your property has a Box account or a Dropbox account or any of the file share storage things like that, even if you've had another OneDrive open or another share drive open, we're no longer going to be using those. They're going to live within the team environment. And now everybody within your team or your property has access to those files, and we can collaborate a lot easier. So the idea with the Microsoft Team environment is to really revolutionize the way we do business, the way we communicate, the way we share files. Okay, so what we're going to do is I want to just let everybody know that I have Mark here as well. He's going to be aiding me in. Are you in frame there?
I am.
Yeah. So everybody welcome Mark. He's going to be helping me with showing you guys how the collaboration environment works within Teams. And you'll see some pretty cool features. Your jaws might drop if you've never done something like this before. If you have, you'll be like, no biggie. But if you've ever worked with something like Google Docs, you'll see it's very similar to that, but it's built for a professional company environment rather than just friends sharing files. Yeah, so just to understand some higher level things, why we decided to move in this direction. Microsoft Teams helps the company communicate better so that a supervisor knows what's going on with their property, that the maintenance supervisor knows what's going on within the management side, that the management knows what's going on the maintenance side. And you'll see as conversations happen, you can kind of keep in the know and be more aware of what's going on your property, and so that we are all on the same page with our properties. Higher level is where someone like Michelle, Amaral, Todd, or Brian or Shadi can see bigger picture what's going on all the different properties. Okay, and so they will all have access to all these properties as well. And this is the way we all stay connected with or through this team environment. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to start explaining first of all the login process. Obviously, sign in here. That's type in your type in your username. So your username is going to be your DJA at djaproperties.com email address, right? That email address is going to be your username for anything Microsoft. That includes Excel, Yammer, Office 365, Outlook, Team Environment. All those different programs, you're going to use your your at djaproperties.com email to sign in. I'm going to press sign in, and it's going to prompt me for my password in a second here, which I have to find real quick. So my password, cover your eyes. Just kidding. Okay. And when you type in your username and password on your computer or through your phone, and I'll walk you guys through that this app is available on your phone. You can download it on your phone. It's a free app. You can download it from the iPhone store or the iTunes store or whatever they call it, or the Android marketplace. They're free apps, and you can stay connected even off the property. And even if you don't have your phone or don't have your computer, if there's a computer, any computer nearby with the internet, you can log into Teams, Outlook online somewhere. So it's pretty cool that it gives us accessibility to our properties information at any time of the day. What if in the middle of the night, which you don't want to do, but what if you needed, you can't sleep and you're really curious about a file, you can always go in at your home and see a file real quick if you really wanted to do that. So the idea is we want to be able to access things at any time of the day. So this is the Microsoft Team environment. Now this is the desktop version. Like I've said, there are online versions as well. So in order to see that, I'm going to show you real quick. It's teams.com. Okay, so teams.microsoft.com, basically the same information, same login credentials, and it takes a second here to load, but I'm going to use the web app instead, and I can log in through Teams via online. As you can see, I've already done that before on this computer, so it remembered my username and password. And just like that, the app as well on your computer now, it saves your username and password, and it will open for you every single time without having to type that in, unless you lose like connection somehow, which happens occasionally if a password gets reset or something like that. Okay, so you can see both environments, online or on your desktop, function in basically the same way. All right. So what is the team environment? What does the team environment look like? On the left-hand side, you have some quick access buttons. Towards the middle here, you'll have a team button, and what that does is that brings up this panel here of all the different teams that you are assigned to. Now, because I'm owner on a lot of these teams, I have way more than you'll ever see. You'll probably only see 1, 2, maybe 3 teams here, but because we're part of the process of setting up the whole company, I have access to all these properties. I'll eventually remove some of them. They're a little overkill for me. But you can see we have Copper Hill Apartments in Arizona, the Edison, Knollwood, all these different properties. And you see there's a button here to expand the different folders that exist within that property. And I'll go over some of that later. We also have chat functionality where I can chat with someone specifically that is not within the team, or that is within the team, but I want to speak with someone individually, and I'll walk you through that shortly later on. Finally, activity is basically your notification center. So that's where you are notified of any time someone mentions you. I'll explain what that means in a little bit. Anytime a activity happens on your property, if you are following the property and want to know everything that's going on, and you want to be Big Brother, if you want to know what's going on, I'll walk you through how to follow your property so that anytime something happens, you'll be notified. That feature can be shut off. It can be a little bit overwhelming at times. You may not care about every little thing going on your property. So we'll walk you through that. But this is where you'll get notifications as far as what's going on your property, or if you've been mentioned specifically or as a team. Okay. There are some other functionalities here. I won't cover those today due to time, but let's go back to the team tab. So as you can see, when you click on a team, so for instance, if I click on Copper Hill, we have 2 what we call channels that appear right underneath. And the general channel is kind of where everything on your property will happen, okay? The big picture things, okay? The confidential channel is specifically for higher level staff. It's got a lot of sensitive information in there, and on most of your properties, you won't have access to that file or that channel. So even if you do click on the confidential and you try to view files within that channel, you'll get like the spinning wheel of death that won't really you won't really have ability to actually see those files because the fact that they're confidential. Now back to the general tab. That's where we're going to do all of our training today. So the general tab is a conversation area, a file storage area, and other things we call wikis or add-ons that make your property more of a community rather than a split environment. Okay, so the conversations tab, I like to think of it as Facebook for work. Or yeah, I would say probably that's the most accurate description. So think of it as Facebook for work. Okay, now there's a lot of things you can do that as far in the conversation area that make communication really easy. And then there's things you can do to make it more fun as well, which is like adding, smileys or GIFs or stickers, or even things like doing not web videos, like screen sharing, or what do they call it when you share cameras? Like video conferencing. Okay. Sorry, I'm losing words today. Slept late, woke up early. So so there's a lot of different features within the conversation area that make communication a lot of fun. So if you want to just go to Copper Hill, just keep so open up in there. So in the Copper Hill environment, I'm going to ask Mark to send me a message, just any old message with some type of goofy little picture, just to show you an idea what a message looks like coming in, and I'll show you how we can respond. And this time, no at. Yeah. You're just adding a conversation in there somewhere, right? Yeah. Okay, so in a second here, we'll get something pop up saying that there's a new conversation on Copper Hill, right? So in the meantime, if I can have everybody please mute your phone. So your phone that you're calling in from, please press mute so that I don't hear the buzzing. Not that I don't love the buzzing, it's just it's a little distracting. And then if you want, I recommend you, highly recommend that you mute also your YouTube video so that you're not getting double audio. Okay, so as you can see, Mark sent me a response here, and I have the ability to reply to that specific thread, or I can start a new conversation on something else. Okay, so for instance, if I want to respond now, I don't know if you've noticed, you see up here in the top, there is no activity. I didn't get any notification. Okay, so the way we want to call people out is we want to mention either an individual, multiple individuals, or the entire team at a time. Okay, so in this case, I'll type in at, and I'll type in Mark. And what happens is you'll see it suggests that I want to speak with Mark specifically within this conversation. I'll say at Mark, and I have to click on Mark's name there. So at symbol, Mark's name, and once I find his name, I click, and then I can continue saying, yes, I have looked, right? The monthly, right? Now, when I send this message, Mark will receive a notification of the Shadi's poking her head in here. Mark will receive an activity notification that that he's been mentioned on that conversation stream. So I'm going to send that. And Mark, now if you could mention me back so we can see how that happens. So in general, I use this as a bad example on purpose. I want to show you how the conversations area works a little bit more like email, but keep in mind that we're not going to be using email anymore. So this brings up an important point. Your Office 365 Outlook email is generally for communications outside of the company and calendaring, okay, which I won't have time to cover today, okay, but the idea with calendaring, this is where we want you to add your appointments, any major meetings, or like today, we'll add those type of things in our calendar, and our emails are mostly for outside company communication. Anything that has to do with a specific property, your property specifically, is going to be done within the team environment. And we're discouraging, and not only discouraging, we're requiring that all your communications, be it was an email, is now going to happen through the communications on your team environment. If it was a text message that you could have sent out, it will now exist in the conversations on your property. We don't want your email to be your primary mode of communication. And what's the reason for that is you'll notice that within the team environment, we communicate faster this way, and it's more open so that we're all on the same page. We can see what's going on. But as long as a person is being mentioned. And so now you can see, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have scrolled down. But I don't know if you guys saw it really quickly. It disappeared from my activities. Really fast, I had a, I'm just going to mark it as unread. Okay. So as you can see, I had a notification up here said, at Mark mentioned you at Copper Hill General. David is not balancing, right? It's not balanced. So when I click on that, it takes me to the conversation. I can be anywhere in Teams. When I click that, it'll take me to the conversation. Now I can see his comment. As you can see, these hyperlinks here were created because somebody mentioned me, and you can see the @ symbol here. That means I was specifically mentioned in that conversation. Okay. Now, if you want to continue a conversation and do an @ team. Okay. And so what Mark is going to do here, he's doing something like this. He's typing in @ and typing in team, and he's going to click on the team to send a message to the whole team, which is everybody on your property. So I'm going to just switch over to something else temporarily so we can watch the notification come in. I'm going to go to a conversation area. So let me know when you're ready to go there, Mark. Or actually, I'll get the notification, right? So just something quick, okay? And as soon as that happens, you can see I get a notification here say, Mark mentioned Copper Hill Apartments in the general tab. And if I want, I can go to my team environment, or you see I get a notification here saying, hey, there's something new happened at that within that conversation, the general tab or general channel conversation area you might want to be aware of. Okay, so if I go to the activities, I can say, oh, okay, Mark mentioned me. I click there, and you can see it took me straight to the first one that came up. Okay, and what he did is he just typed in @ team, and now everybody, that includes myself, Mark, the property super, Don, Mike, who's the maintenance technician, Anthony, who is the manager on the property, they all get notified of the new thread that Mark just put in and said, everyone else, great job, right? And you can see now we can tell the difference between a mention to you specifically and a mention to the whole team. Okay? All right. So as you can see, those are some ways we can kind of communicate better within our team environment. And I'll show you some of the other little features here within the conversation area. We have ability to format a conversation, add an attachment, which is not the preferred way of doing a conversation. I'll show you the method we're going to use to attach files to a conversation. As you can see, we've done that in the past up here. Okay, so we're obviously going to delete some of this conversation later on. This is kind of our test property. But if I want to, I can also start a video chat, which we'll do at a later time. I'll show you how that works another time. That's not so important for today. But the basics of conversation we're going to cover today, which is @ mentioning. The important thing with any conversation, when you want to inform someone, you have to type in the @ symbol and then select the person by clicking on them. You can't just type in @ Mark, okay? Because if you, actually, I guess you can't do that. I stand corrected. So if you do @ Mark and continue typing, that's fine. But if you don't type in the whole name, I believe that's caused issues in the past. Yeah. So if you don't do all of that, it doesn't, as you can see, it doesn't create the link there. You have to type in the entire name or select that person. Doesn't look like it's wanting to work now. So yeah, so you have to type in the whole name, and then it'll create the hyperlink here. Okay, the hyperlink is important. If you don't do that, Mark doesn't get notified, or your team doesn't get notified, and the conversation sits there, and as you can see, like it was here, it sat there, nobody was notified, and it can be a very important document or a really important conversation, but nobody knows about it. So I'm really driving that point home. At the person's name or the team and select that group and make sure that you get a purple colored hyperlink before you move on to make sure that everybody will be notified. Okay? And that's all I'm going to cover as far as conversations, but we're going to come back to it in a minute when we talk about files. Okay? So we're going to skip over to files real quick. And within the filing area, you'll notice all the important documentation for the property is going to be stored in the Files tab for Copper Hill within the general channel. Okay. Before I jump into that, I just want to cover, and we'll be sending this out to all the properties. I'm going to switch over to a different team real quick so I can show everyone an important way that we're going to start filing all of our documents and important property information. So this is going to come out to all your properties in the next few days here as we finalize it. So we're going to cover real quick why we need a file structure and why it needs to stay consistent throughout the company. So if I want everybody to imagine for a few moments, don't think about it from your perspective, because most of the filing happens at the management level, but not all of it. There is a lot of filing that does happen, but then again, there's a lot of people who need to have access to those files. And so when there's a lot of people that need to access the files on your property, it's not a big deal if it was just one property. The issue with the environment we're working in is you have a supervisor who has probably 10 to 15 properties under their belt. And when they try to find your monthly report, for example, within your filing area, if they try to find your monthly report and you name your reports differently than another property will name their monthly reports or weekly reports or whatever type of report, it becomes incredibly difficult to navigate through the files and folders to find that specific file. Therefore, we've agreed on a filing structure for all our properties that you as managers have to adhere by. We're not requesting it, we're telling it, and we're... So I hear a question.
Guy just parked in big truck and filled the dumpster up to here with trash. And I told him he can't do that. I think he's a Russian or Ukrainian. I told him, we already took your license, man. You gotta take it. I mean, he filled it up.
Okay, somebody has their phone that is not muted. Can I please have you mute your phone?
I told him I took pictures.
Please mute your phone.
But it's full, so you better take your stuff or get your license.
Nobody can hear me.
I'm sorry. Can you tell the phone?
All right. Can I have everybody please mute your phones? It's incredibly distracting. That instruction has been given on multiple occasions. Okay. So I can't stress it enough. Please mute your phones. There's about 40 to 60 people logging in on one call. You absolutely have to have your phone muted. Thank you. Okay. So back to filing. So as you can imagine, with all these supervisors and all these properties, it's really difficult to find files when everybody wants to manage their files in their own specific way. So our company is changing a lot recently, and this is one of the things that is absolutely crucial that we understand the importance of it, and we take it incredibly seriously. because you have to understand, for someone like Todd, who has to review all your properties and dig through all the information from all your properties, it's going to be impossible for him to find files if you decide to manage them in your own way. Okay, so I just want to remind everyone, it is not permissible to create your own filing structure. All right, our filing structure is as follows, and you'll see it within the team environment. From your property team site, you don't see the document area, but that's where your team site lives in, within the documents area. You have the general channel, in which you have folders that live within that, and that's these red subfolders here. Okay, all of these are your main folders to the different areas of access to files within your property's team site. Okay, so just to show you, I'm going to download this real quick so I can come back to it and open that in Word. And I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go back to Copper Hill to walk you guys through. Let's go to a different property just for fun. So I'm going to the Edison within the General tab, and I'm looking at the files for that property. Okay, as you can see, we have within the file structure, you see General up here at the top. That's where my files are being stored in the cloud. Okay, and you can see the cloud is actually called SharePoint. Okay, and we can open up any of these areas within the actual cloud through the internet, but it already exists within the team environment here. So for instance, getting back to our file structure here, we have forms and letters, and in there, that is not, it's not so pertinent that files be subfoldered or whatever in there. But where we get to things like inspections that happen annually or semi-annually or weekly or whatnot, it becomes really important on how do we store those in a way where we can find them quickly. Okay, so within the inspections tab, and I'll show you here, within the inspections tab, we click there, there's more folders within that folder. And if you click inside the property quality assessments, you'll see the property quality assessment that's for that property in there. And then if you click annual inspections, there's nothing in here right now because these are all brand new properties for everybody, just as it is for your property. These are all new. So you can see we have the inspections folder and then two subfolders that exist within the inspection folder. And then we have within all these, the black colored subfolders or actual files is where the information that you're going to upload, and you're going to, anything that you see in black here is where you as a manager will be creating and maintaining that file structure. For instance, property quality assessments, this is probably more a supervisor, but let's say annual unit by unit inspections. Those are done annually. So that means that you're going to store them within a year's folder. So you'll have a 2018, a 2019, a 2020 folder for the annual unit by unit inspections. And then inside that folder, you'll have the actual file, which is titled in a very specific way. As you can see, we're being very specific with our filing. And as we get closer to the end of this video, you'll understand why it's so important for quick access and finding these files easily. So we're gonna cover that a little bit more in depth, probably in more trainings that we're gonna do in the future. But for now, just keep in mind that there is a file structure. The blue, red, and green are not to be altered. The only place where you'll be creating will be the year folders and then the actual files. So the year folders or the actual files within those subfolders. Okay? Now, if there's any questions on that, I would hope that there would be someone to ask a question, because I'd like there to be more interaction in this call. If there is anything that sounds confusing to you, it's probably someone else has a similar question. So let me know. Okay. I know there's a big delay between the video and the audio, so do your best. It's about a 3 to 4 or 5 second delay. We're doing our best to try to get everybody, trained in one quick place, but yeah, there's some technology setbacks. So, okay, so we have all of our folders, and we have subfolders within those. So I'm going to go real quickly I'm going to go back to Copper Hill, to the General tab, because that's where everything happens. I'll go to the Files. And now I want to inform someone, so I'm going to go to the Move Out Charges. Okay, I believe there are some in here. So I'm going to go to the Move Out Charges for this resident here. And I'm going to click on the file, and then when it opens up within the team environment. Okay, now this is not your file. Okay, this is a preview of your file. Okay, so what you want to do is, if you want to work on your file, you're going to have to edit it in Teams or online. For right now, we don't have the ability to work on a file within Excel from your computer. So you're going to work from the edit in Teams or edit in Excel online. Okay, so I'm going to quickly change over, and as well as Mark is going to open up this file as well within the team environment, and you have the file G14 Lopez, right? Awesome. So I'm going to open this within Excel online, but it exists within the team environment. So instead of it opening on your computer, we're actually viewing the file within the team environment. And you can see now I can edit it. At the top here we have Mark, who is also logged in and is also editing this file right now. And so Mark, if you want to go ahead and edit, add in Joe resident under the residents there, you can see Mark's identified as blue here, and he is typing in something within the resident name box, and he typed in Joe resident. I didn't do that myself. Okay, we can both collaborate, and you can, when I click on a different box here, you'll see where I'm the green box and he's the blue box, and I can type in David. I'll spell my name right. David. Jeez, come on. All right. And once I'm done typing in that field, he now can see that I've made that edit as well. Okay. And we can both work on files at the same time. So I think you can see the big point with Teams. We're working on the same file. We're not emailing it back and forth to and from each other. There's one file that we're all working on, and that one file is the version we're always working on. So I'm not going to send an email to my account, or excuse me, to Linda, and then she send it back and say, oh, this is not right, and then you send it back to her. We're not doing that anymore. We're actually working on the same file at the same time. So she can see it and I can see it at the same time, which is an incredible capability in 2019. So it's a pretty awesome way to collaborate on a file and work on an area where there might be some concern. So for instance, Linda might say, well, the box here for the legal fees is not correct, or lease break fees, excuse me, that should have been $1,400 or something like that. She can walk you through that, and you can work on the same file at the same time. Pretty awesome thing. So I'm going to close this environment. I think I've gone over the basics of that. We will probably leave some time for questions at the end. I'm going to click back on the file real quick. And so this is, again, now we're in the, you can see that we're missing the ribbon at the top, so I can't edit this file, okay? I think I might be able to type in some things now. That box, don't let that confuse you to think that you can edit that, because that's not editable, all right? There is a box here at the edge of the screen, which is show conversations. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the conversation on this. Now, this file has already, there's a conversation that already got started. So let me see if I can find a file here that doesn't have a conversation started on it. So give me 2 seconds here while I go dig for something really fast. I'm gonna just pick, I'm gonna pick this file. I don't know if this has a conversation. It does. Bummer. I was looking for a file that doesn't have a conversation to show you. You know what? I'm going to go to another team. And I'm going to go to the Edison. And I'm going to go to the maintenance. I doubt there's some conversation started on this one. Let's see. There actually might be conversations. Okay, good example. Okay, so this is a file that the maintenance uses to communicate big scale things that happen on their property. Now, this would probably be done by a supervisor, but I'm giving you an idea how you would start a conversation on a file and move it from the file area into the conversation area so we can collaborate on that file. So I'm going to press start conversation. If you notice the time, when I press start conversation, it starts in a new thread. It starts a new thread conversation specifically about this file. Now, that thread, remember, it has no mention so far. Nobody's been mentioned on it. So it just exists within the conversation area, but nobody knows it's there yet, and nobody knows what you want to say about it. So you need to mention someone or bring it up. So in this case, I'm not sure who the maintenance, let's say, for instance, I want to let Todd know about it, right? So I'll say, hey, at Todd, and I'll select his name. I'll say, here is the maintenance report, right? For this month or whatever, right? And now when I send this message, he will get a notification because I've done a mention, and he will receive in his activity area a notification that he was mentioned on that file. So now he knows to do something with this file. Okay, so this is incredibly important for the process on move outs, right? Where the manager, you as a manager, are going to mention Linda and say, hey, Linda, the move out for this apartment is ready to go. Can you review it for me? Okay. Linda will review it, see how it looks. If it's not good, she'll let you know. If it's good, she'll either print it out or send it to the accountant for payment. And how does she send it? She doesn't actually physically email it to them. She mentions the accountant, and now the accountant knows to cut the payment on that. Okay. If you're working within Resman, just remember, if you're using that software, you have to put in the move out charges in Resman before you inform the accountant, because they can't do anything about they can't cut a payment until you've put those charges into the move out reconciliation for that tenant. So just keep that in mind. That's a process thing that you have to change a little bit. So yeah, I'm not going to bother Todd right now, but if I wanted to, I could send that message over. I can add, like I said, a GIF. I can say, yay, there's a rolling dog. Hey, that's so much fun. Hey, why not? And I send that over. But I'm not going to do that right now. Save Todd some time of his day. But you can see, I'll mention Mark because he's here, and why not? Bother Mark. Right? So Mark, blah, blah, blah. Here is the report, right? Right? Oops. Try not typing too fast. here's the report. And I'll send that over to Mark. Mark can now comment on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close. Mark is going to make a comment on there and let me know about it. So I closed that file, and he's going to make a comment where I'm going to be mentioned, so I know what the next phase of the communication on that file will be. Now, I can access that reply that he did multiple ways. I can go back to the conversation area. I can go to the activity area and click on this, and it takes me to the conversation area. So see here, now we have the conversation that I started on that file. I inform Mark of the report is ready for him to review, and he says, David, it's awesome. Thank you for the update, right? So you can see how we're able to collaborate and communicate faster than through email, and not just faster, but everybody is seeing these communications as well. And all these files between you and the maintenance, and these are not like secretive files, so they're all, I would say open source. They're not, nothing is, hidden away. Everything is out in the open so that we can see what the progress of the property is, right? Now, most maintenance supervisors won't care about your monthly reports or your weekly reports so much. Maybe they might care about the weeklies, but they probably won't bother with the monthly. So you don't want to you don't want to send the whole team or mention the whole team on your monthly report, because not everybody cares. You'll just reply with, your at supervisor, whatever their name is, and maybe the accountant, and let them both know. So this would basically replace an email. Okay. So if there are any questions on that, I'm going to leave the line open for a few seconds for anybody to comment, have any questions. Maybe I didn't explain something so in detail. Maybe I can walk through that again. So questions, please.
We have a question from Priscilla.
Mm-hmm.
She asks, I know you must have said it, but how do you link the files in Microsoft Teams?
How do you link the files in Microsoft Teams? I'm curious if you want to unmute your phone and expand a little bit on your question there. Priscilla from from Linwood, yes. Priscilla, can you unmute your phone and expand on your question there? Okay, I'm not quite sure what she means by linking the file. I believe what she means is to how you bring the file into the conversation area, and I just showed that. So if that is what you were asking, Linda, I hope I answered your question. Your file, remember, exists within the files area, and I find that file wherever it may be, and I open it in the preview area, and I start a conversation on it. If I just press start conversation, it starts a conversation, right? Within this kind of text area. This is more like a texting on a file. I'll close that, and you can see how I go back to the conversations area for Edison, and you can see that I started a new conversation, new thread conversation for that file here. Okay, and now I can let someone know. I'm not sure who else is in this team here, but I'll just say at team. Why not? This is maybe something everybody might want to know. And I say here is the weekly for Edison, right? Or you know what? Actually, this is actually drives a very important point. Alicia. Hi, Alicia. Here's the weekly report for the Edison. And now I send that over. Alicia gets notified of this report is ready to go. And then instead of emailing it to Alicia, you're now going to mention her. There might be other people you might want to mention. For instance, the supervisor. I'm not sure who that is for the property. You'll add them in there, or if, let's say Mark is your supervisor. Oops, at Mark. You'll add them in there as well. Okay. Any questions on that there? I believe I answered the question on how to link a file. I'm going to delete this conversation here because I don't want this existing in there. But yeah, I'm going to delete this conversation as well. Any other questions? Please unmute your phone if you do have a question. I'll be happy to answer. Or any other.
This is Liz from Buster's. I have a question.
Okay, just Liz.
So, on that same topic, when I'm sending that message to Alicia, for example, am I putting it in the folder for the property as well as attaching it?
Can everybody please mute your phone? Everyone? Okay, ask that question one more time.
For example, I would attach that and send it directly to her. Am I also taking that same weekly report and putting it on in the file itself?
Okay, everybody please mute your phones. Please mute your phone. Okay, so the answer on that is, and I just want to definitely clarify, when you're using the word send, that makes me think you want to send something via email. You are no longer sending emails to your supervisor, to Alicia, to anybody. Now, pause for effect. You're not sending files through email to anyone any longer. Your file exists. Please mute your phones. Thank you. Your file will exist within the team environment. You will upload that file. That file will exist in your folder. You're going to start a conversation on that file and mention the person who is, needs to know about that file. Once you've mentioned them, they get a notification. You're not emailing the file anymore. I hope I answered that question. Let me know if I didn't.
I understand that. So I guess I used the wrong word. I'm saying when I attach the weekly file and send it in this team environment, it goes directly to Alicia. But am I also, I want to make sure I'm using the right words, am I also uploading it under file under weekly as well?
So go ahead and mute your phone. Okay. So I think I understand your question. So one thing that you guys are going to be doing in the next week or so is uploading all your files into the team environment. Okay. From
You muted yourself.
I'm sorry. Okay. So what you're going to be doing in the next few weeks here is you will be, as managers, you'll be uploading all the files that are on your desktop.
We can't hear you, David.
Okay, sorry about that. I had my phone muted. All right, so sorry. So one thing that you will be doing in the next week is you will be uploading all the files from your computer into the team environment. So they will no longer live on your computer. They'll be in the cloud. Okay. So for instance, the weekly reports. You're going to open that tab and you're gonna go to your 2019. And as you can see, the manager here uploaded all the 2019 weekly reports for their property. Okay? Just keep in mind the new file naming structure that you'll be receiving by the end of today. Okay? How to label your weekly reports and how to label your traffic reports. Okay? So these older files are labeled differently than what we're requiring from now on. But just please review this document carefully on how we want to label our files properly. Okay? But you're going to be uploading those into the team environment. From the team environment, you will be working on those files. Now, how do we upload files? It could be pretty simple if you're careful on understanding the difference between Teams and SharePoint. So remember, Teams is the conduit through which SharePoint is where your file exists. Teams is how you view that file. Okay, it's the conduit through which you view your SharePoint file, your SharePoint cloud location. So for instance, my weekly report 2019 folder, if I open this in SharePoint, it will now open up a new instance in my browser. It requires me to sign in. I'm gonna, oh boy, that's why I didn't want to do it this way. Okay. Okay. All right. So, sorry, it took a second to open, but you can see now that filing structure lives within SharePoint Online. Okay. And in here is where you're going to want to upload your files into those folders. So you can see at the top here, we have your Documents, General, Weekly 2019 folder. This is where you want to drop a lot of files at a time. Within the team environment, you can only drag and drop up to 10 files at a time. So it's not recommended to use Teams to upload a large amount of files. You can drag and drop one file fast within Teams. But if you want to drag your whole weekly 2019 into Teams, it's not going to work. And you cannot drag folders into the team environment. You have to drag just files. Okay? You can't drag folders into Teams, just files alone. Okay? So I recommend if you're going to upload a large amount of files, do it within the SharePoint site. It's the same thing. That's where it exists online, but Teams is how you view those files from online. So for instance, I'm going to add a file from my desktop. Let's say I created it and I had it stored in another filing location. I can drag that file or many up to 10 if I'm doing it in Teams. So I'm going to drag this file into the team environment, and I'm going to drop it in the weekly reports. Okay? And you give it a moment for upload. And as you can see now, that file has been added into the weekly reports 2019 folder. If I go back to online, you can see it just refreshed, and that file has uploaded online as well. It exists online. Teams is a way of putting things in the cloud, and it exists here, but Teams is a way to view it. So you can upload it in both locations. Just remember, within the team environment, only 10 files at a time. All right? And that's where you can work on that file. I hope I answered that correctly. Now, before I end the call today, I'm going to do one more quick demo. I'm going to delete this file because I don't want to have it there. I'm going to confirm that I'm going to delete that file. It doesn't belong there. And I'm going to go to the weekly report, the most recent one for this property. We have the weekly reports. I'm going to open up this weekly report, and I'm going to show you how to create a new weekly report. This weekly report was from, as you can see, last week, but we need a new one for this week. So this is last week's weekly report. I'm going to open it in Teams. Okay, so I'm opening the file now. I'm viewing it within the team environment. And remember, this file is not this week's report. This is last week's report. Before I do anything to this file, I want to save it as a new file name. So I'm going to go to the File tab, and I'm going to click Save As, and I'm going to save a copy online. Okay. So I'm essentially creating a new file and giving it a new name, okay? And I'm sure most of you are familiar with how to do that. Just making sure I get to everybody. So I'm going to change that to 2019-4/18. Now, remember, these are not labeled the way we want them in Teams from now on. So just keep in mind that we want to rename this file in the way that we would do it for the team environment. So real quickly, it's year, month, day, the property code, year, month, day, the property code, and weekly report. So I'm going to change this real quick. So the year is going to be in 2 digits. We don't want the dashes. We want the month, date. So year, month, date, space. The Edison is, I believe, ED. If I'm wrong, I really apologize. And then we have weekly reports. Okay, as you can see, that file name matches or weekly report. Okay.
David?
Yes.
Quick question. Where do we get our property code?
Your property code, please mute your phone. Your property code can be found from your supervisor, Mark, Nelly, anybody at the main office. We're using the term property code, but it's just your property abbreviation. Some people refer to it differently, but property code, property abbreviation is the same thing. Okay? And this one, I'm not sure if it is, but I believe it's ED. Okay? So now I'm saving this file. It is now the 18th. Oh, excuse me, this is 19th, sorry. I need to change it tomorrow. For the Friday, right? The weekend. And I'm going to save that file. And now it's going to, well, I have to retype it. I'm sorry, I don't know why it's asking me this over and over. I think it's because I haven't worked on this file before. Starting to memorize my difficult password now. Uh, 356? 456.
536.
All right. Okay. All right. So, so what it did now is it saved that file. Now you can see the file I'm looking at right now is still the 12 file for the 12th. So I'm going to close that, and I'm going to go back to my filing area here. Weekly reports. And there's my new file I just created. The year 2019 for April the 19th. Edison weekly reports. Okay. And now I can start a conversation on this file. As you notice, this was a saved as file. So when a file is saved as, it basically becomes a brand new file. It doesn't bring the conversation with it. Okay, so this would be a whole new conversation you'd have on this file here. because it's essentially a new week, a new version. Okay. So yeah, that's one important thing. Now, I was saying before we ended for the day, I wanted to show you why all of these file structures are so important. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to find a weekly report for a property. I can go in the search bar here at the top, and I can find the weekly reports, all the conversation or the messages that happened on weekly reports. I can look for people called weekly report, but there is nobody called weekly report. Or I can look at files. And as you can see right now, files are structured and labeled very differently. And this becomes really hard to find when this is labeled one way, this is labeled a different way. All these things are labeled differently. It's going to be really hard to find things. But if I wanted to find my report, 19 for April the 19th, right? For Edison property, there's my weekly report, and it's incredibly easy to find because it's consistent throughout our properties and it's easily searchable. Okay, this is what makes the company function better, makes us more efficient with our time so that someone can find your file really easily. If Todd wanted to find a file really fast, he types in the information that would, the year and the property, and that weekly report will pop up for him. If you don't name it this way, it's going to be hard for him, for your supervisor, for anybody to find it in the future when we do need to find things, down the road. So I really encourage everyone to play around with Teams, but just when I say play, make sure that we're following the file and folder structure and keeping that consistent and not editing and changing the main file folders. Like I said, anything that is blue or red or green in these file structures here, those should not be changed by yourself. Only the subfolders like the years and the actual property, the actual file names would be what you would be editing. Okay, so any other questions on that? I'm sure there are millions of questions, but I'll give a few more minutes and then we'll try to end, because I know some of you are shutting down your offices. Any other question online or anything?
Hi, so if we are opened on Saturdays, does it make a difference if we change the date to like a Saturday instead of most properties as a Friday?
Yeah, so the thing is, we want to make sure that our business day end are always the same. So company-wide, we're going to stick with the Friday, even though your report really is kind of still being updated on Saturday. We're sticking with Friday because that's generally, usually properties that are open on Saturday are open on Saturday as a temporary thing. It's not happening like year round. It's usually because there's like a higher vacancy, or maybe you have a really, really large property that needs an extra day open, but that's rare. Most cases, most case scenarios is you have Saturday open because you need to rent apartments or something like that. But our actual last day of business is Friday, but Saturdays it is open for leasing and stuff like that. So does that answer the question?
So if we are open on Saturdays, we should still just date it for Friday just to keep it consistent.
Yes, yes. Because remember, consistency is our goal here. We want to be able to find files. Because what if what if Todd doesn't know your property is open Saturdays all the time, right? So it's best that we keep it consistent across the board so we can find things easily. Okay. Last thing I'm just going to cover real quick. I kind of omitted it, was the wikis. So this is not something for you to update. This will be for supervisors to update. But we did it for Copper Hill. We don't have it for all the properties yet. We're going to get that going in the next few weeks here. Under the General tab, there's a tab here called Wiki. In the Wiki is where we store property information. Really important data that we want to be able to find quickly in a pinch, like we need to know how many units does this property have, anything that has to do with the property that is not files, right? So for instance, the logo, the website link, the official website link to like our DJ properties or to the actual uh, website that your property has created, right? YouTube link if you have like marketing material on YouTube. Basic information like your address, your email, the office. If you have a hearing impaired extension, fax number. This one doesn't have it. Or your management team, who's managing the property at the current time, so we know who to contact when we really need to find that information quickly, because sometimes it's hard to tell who's the manager at this property, who's the maintenance at that property. Office hours, right? And that's where this Saturday Sunday thing came up, right? Unit breakdown, how many units we have, how many U1 bedrooms, how many 2, the total units. Do we allow or let's say animals, should be titled animals, right? We allow cats and dogs, right? This was actually never deleted. This was for another thing. But yeah, we allow cats and dogs, right? And then we can give like the what are the restrictions, like weight or breed and whatnot. Okay, and so this is kind of an area where we could access quickly to view important data about the property that someone might need to know. Okay, and on the upper left hand corner of this wiki area, we have a way where we can find these certain sections faster. Like for instance, let's say I want to find the unit breakdown. I click that and it takes me to where the unit breakdown, or I want to see the logo, I can go back up, it takes me up to the logo. And how do you create new sections? You can see here, this is more for your supervisor, this is not for the managers, but they can be edited by the manager if something has changed, like the office hours have changed or the animal breed restrictions have changed. You can edit or add things here. So I can add a new section, right? And you can see it adds a new section there, and I can say, I don't know, types of phones, whatever, right? You can have any section you want. Types of phones would be, and then you can do IPHONE, whatever. You get the idea, right? Or Samsung. And now that is a section within your wiki. Now this is not something you would obviously have, but I was just giving you an idea of what type of, how you would add it in there. Okay. I'll delete that section because it's unnecessary. And I'll delete this animal one because that was added for another training that I forgot to delete for. So any other questions in the meantime before we hang up? All right. So lack of questions. I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you so much. Sorry about going a little bit over, but you guys are free to call me. I prefer not a million phone calls, but if it's something super urgent, let me know. I'll happily answer any questions. Just letting everybody know, this will be a weekly thing for at least the next 2 months as we come on board. We're going to have question answer sessions every Thursday morning between 10 and 11. We're going to do a short video like this as we're doing now, or maybe we might do a different way. We'll see what works best. This YouTube thing is a little bit new for us, so thank you for your patience as we work through some of the kinks. But yeah, every Thursday morning, except for next month where we have the monthly meeting, you'll all be here, and I can walk through any questions at the end of the monthly meeting. We'll do like a quick question answer session, tips, tricks, whatever of teams, and then yeah, that'll be at the end of the next week's meeting. But after that, it'll be every Thursday morning between 10 and 11. We'll have a quick like tips and tricks and whatnot. So without further ado, I'll let everybody go. Have a great day or Thursday. Enjoy the sun and weather out there. If you have any questions, give me a call. You have my phone number. Otherwise, au revoir. All right.